You hear about AI everywhere, right? But I'd argue there's nowhere its potential is more personal than in medicine. We're talking about a massive shift in how we think about health, from designing brand new cures from scratch to literally rebuilding parts of the human body. So yeah, let's get into it.
You know, for hundreds of years, if you pictured a medical breakthrough, you'd think of what? A scientist in a lab coat peering into a microscope, right? Well, that's changing. The biggest revolution in medicine right now, it's not happening in a lab at all. It's happening in the code. Seriously. The whole thing is being driven by algorithms, by massive amounts of data. And the engine behind it all? Artificial intelligence. It's basically the lead architect for this whole new chapter in medicine. And this really gets to the heart of the change. For so long, medicine has been what you could call sick care. You get sick, you go to the doctor, they treat the symptoms, it's all reactive. But now, we're flipping that on its head. The AI-driven approach is all about being proactive, personalized, and even predictive. It's about keeping you healthy before you even get sick.
All right, so for part one, let's look at one of the most mind-blowing parts of this whole thing. Cures coded. We're going to see how AI is literally designing the drugs of tomorrow. So, to really get why this is such a game changer, you have to understand the sheer scale of the problem. Look at that number. 10 to the power of 63. That's a 1 followed by 63 zeros. It's an astronomical number. That's how many potential drug-like molecules we think could exist. It's a chemical universe so massive that trying to explore it by hand would be, well, impossible. And that's exactly where AI comes in.
And here's the genius of it. For decades, drug discovery was kind of like finding a needle in a haystack. You just test thousands of compounds hoping one would work. But with generative AI, it's like having a heat-seeking missile. The AI starts by analyzing the disease target on a molecular level. Then, it doesn't just find molecules, it invents brand new ones specifically designed to hit that target. It even predicts how effective and safe they'll be and figures out the best way to actually make them. It's incredible.
So, what does this all mean in the real world? One word: speed. A perfect example is a company called In Silico Medicine. Traditionally, just getting a new drug ready for human trials takes, on average, about 6.5 years. Think about that. But with their AI platform, they're looking at doing it in 3 to 4 years. They're basically cutting that time almost in half. I mean, in an industry where every single day counts, that's not just an advantage, it's everything.
And you can see this power especially clearly in the fight against cancer. You've got companies like Tempus, and what they're doing is building what they call an operating system for precision medicine. They're feeding these massive data libraries into their AI, and it can do some amazing things. It can predict which specific drug will work best for your tumor. It can spot new drug combinations that a human might never think of. And, just as important, it can help doctors figure out who can safely skip some of the harshest treatments. We're talking about cancer care that's personalized right down to the molecular level.
Okay, so we've been talking about the microscopic world of molecules and drugs. Now let's zoom out a bit and look at something a little more tangible. Part 2 is all about rebuilding the body, from super advanced bionics to 3D printed implants. For years, the big dream for prosthetic limbs was to give them a real sense of touch. I mean, imagine that. But the early tech, the first brain-computer interfaces, they were pretty basic. They could send a signal, but it was really crude. It was basically just on or off, like a simple buzz. But now, researchers are using AI to orchestrate these incredibly complex patterns of neurosignals. And the result? They can create sensations that are nuanced, that feel real. Listen to how one person in a study described it: a gentle gliding touch passing smoothly over their fingers. The brain doesn't register that as just a buzz anymore. It feels like a genuine smooth touch. And that's the leap, right? The bionic hand stops being just a tool and starts becoming a true intuitive extension of your own body. And it gets even cooler. This innovation isn't just about bionics. When you combine AI with advanced 3D metal printing, you get patient-specific parts printed on demand. We're talking about custom medical implants, like a graft for a blood vessel, that is designed and printed to perfectly match your unique anatomy. The AI is watching the whole printing process in real time, making sure it's perfect. It's like having a custom spare parts factory inside the hospital.
Okay, everything we've talked about so far, it's breathtaking, right? The promise is just enormous, but with any revolution this big, there's always a flip side. We have to pump the brakes for a second and ask a really, really important question.
Yeah, the tech is amazing, but does this amazing technology work for everyone? Is this revolution going to lift all boats, or is there a real risk that it leaves a lot of people behind? This is the reality check.
Because here's the thing, these AI systems are only as good as the data we feed them, and that opens up some huge risks. Let's break it down. First, you've got algorithmic bias. Think about it. If the data the AI learns from is based on a healthcare system that has historical inequalities, well, the AI learns those same biases. It might end up underestimating risks for certain groups of people. Second, there's what's called the efficacy gap. An AI might work perfectly in a controlled lab, but then you put it into a messy, real-world hospital, and it just doesn't perform. And finally, maybe the most obvious one, data privacy. All of this amazing stuff runs on our most sensitive personal health information. The risk for data breaches is absolutely massive.
Now, pointing out these challenges isn't about saying we should stop. No way. But it does mean we have to be incredibly smart and really deliberate about how we roll this stuff out. So the question becomes, how do we build a path forward that's equitable for everyone?
Well, it seems to come down to three really big imperatives. First, we have to mandate equity audits for these AI systems. We need to actively hunt for and root out bias before this technology gets anywhere near a patient. Second, we have to invest in the infrastructure to bridge that gap between the lab and the clinic. We need to test these tools in diverse, real-world settings to make sure they actually work. And third, we've got to get our act together on global regulations for data privacy and transparency. People need to trust the system, and that's the only way to build it.
Look, there's no doubt we're at the very beginning of a new age in medicine. AI is handing us the tools to do things that honestly felt like science fiction just a few years ago. The technology, for the most part, is here. So the real question, the one that's going to define this whole era, isn't about the tech anymore. It's about us. Do we have the wisdom and, maybe more importantly, the will to make sure that these revolutionary cures are for everyone, that they heal all of us equally?